How are you guys doing? Today is Tuesday, March 15th, 2022. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to review yesterday's Elite matchups and performances from Monday, March 14th. And of course, I'm going to preview everything that's going on today as we navigate through this world of sports one day at a time. Taking a quick look at where we are in the calendar year as we are halfway through March. Today is officially the first day of March Madness as the very first two of the first four matchups will, of course, shorten the amount of teams in this tournament from 68 to 64. And then, of course, after tomorrow's games, we will get into we will have 64 teams left to compete for the national title. In the NBA, we are in the latter parts of the season as there is only one team that has already clinched a playoff spot, not to mention other teams that have been eliminated from playoff contention only in the East. And of course, with it being 2022, with it being March, we are about a couple months away from the European leagues being over. So of course, as time goes on, the wait for those games is of course increasing. So with that said, looking first at what's going on with college basketball today, starting off at 6:40 on True TV, it will be the battle of the 16 seeds in the Midwestern region. Texas Southern is going to face off against Texas A&M CC, and of course the winner of this matchup will go on to the next round. And in the Midwest bracket, they will be facing off against the number one seed Kansas. The second matchup today will be at 9:10 on True TV. It will be between the two 12 seeds in the East as Indiana is going to take on Wyoming from the Mountain West. And of course, with this win, the winner of this matchup will face off against fifth-ranked St. Mary's. But that is what college basketball is looking like, as after today, there will be 66 teams left. Right now, there are 68. Taking a look at what's going on at the professional basketball level, starting off in Cleveland, the Cleveland Cavaliers hosted the Los Angeles Clippers. The Cavs would end up beating the Clippers by 9. They won this one in overtime, 120 to 111. They outscored the Clippers 14-5 in this overtime period to pick up this win. On the losing end of this matchup, the Los Angeles Clippers were led in scoring by their starting center, Ivica Zubac. He would go on to finish with 24 points, 14 rebounds, and 2 blocks. He fouled out in 36 minutes. He shot 10 for 15 from the field and a perfect 4 for 4 from the foul line. Their starting shooting guard, Terrence Mann, would finish with 18 points, 10 rebounds, and 2 blocks in 45 minutes. He shot 7 for 21 from the field and 2 for 4 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Cleveland Cavaliers were led in scoring by their starting center, their rookie, Evan Mobley. He finished with 30 points, 6 rebounds, 2 steals, and 2 blocks in 40 minutes. He shot 13 for 22 from the field. He shot 1 for 3 from 3 and 3 for 6 from the foul line. Their all-star starting point guard Darius Garland finished with 24 points and 13 assists, as well as 2 rebounds in 46 minutes. He shot 8 for 21 from the field, 4 for 9 from 3, and a perfect 4 for 4 from the foul line. Their starting small forward, Isaac Okoro, finished with 20 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists in 39 minutes. He shot 4 for 6 from the field. He made his only three-pointer, and he shot 11 for 13 from the foul line. With this win, the Cleveland Cavaliers are 39-29. That is the 6th best record in the Eastern Conference. They've only won 4 of their last 10 games. In the playoff picture, they are sitting a game and a half behind the 5th-place Boston Celtics. They are sitting a game ahead of the 7th-place Toronto Raptors. Overall, they trail the Eastern Conference leading Miami Heat by 5.5 games. With this loss, the Los Angeles Clippers are 36-35. That is the 8th best record in the West. They've only lost 4 of their last 10 games. In the playoff picture, they are sitting 4.5 games behind the 7th place Minnesota Timberwolves. They are sitting 5.5 games ahead of their Crypto.com arena roommates, the Los Angeles Lakers. Right now, they are trailing the Phoenix Suns by 19.5 games in the Western Conference. Taking a look at what happened in Atlanta, the Hawks hosted the Portland Trailblazers. The Hawks would beat the Trailblazers 122-113. The Hawks won this game by 9 after they outscored the Blazers by 14 in the third quarter, by 18 in the second half. On the losing end of this matchup, the Portland Trailblazers were led in scoring by their starting shooting guard out of Villanova, Josh Hart. He finished with 31 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists in 38 minutes. He shot 11 for 21 from the field. He would also go on on to shoot 4 for 7 from 3 and 5 for 7 from the foul line. The Blazers starting power forward, Trendon Watford, finished with 22 points, 9 rebounds, and 4 blocks in 39 minutes. He would go on to shoot 9 for 19 from the field. He would shoot 2 for 4 from 3 and a perfect 2 for 2 from the foul line. Their starting point guard, Brandon Williams, finished with 20 points and 6 assists, as well as 5 turnovers in 36 minutes. He shot 8 for 17 from the field. Their starting forward, Drew Eubanks, finished with 16 points and 10 rebounds in 30 minutes. He shot 7 for 10 from the field and a perfect 2 for 2 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Atlanta Hawks were led in scoring by their elite starting point guard, Trae Young. He finished with 46 points, 6 rebounds, and 12 assists in 39 minutes. He shot 15 for 31 from the field, 5 for 14 from 3, and a perfect 11 for 11 from the foul line. Their starting small forward out of Virginia, DeAndre Hunter, finished with 20 points and 2 steals and 2 blocks in 34 minutes. He shot 6 for 17 from the field. He will go on to shoot 5 for 6 from the foul line as well. And then, of course, with this win, the Atlanta Hawks are 34-34. That is the 9th best record in the Eastern Conference. They've now won their last 3 games. They are now tied with the Brooklyn Nets for the second longest active winning streak in the East. The Hawks have won 6 of their last 10 games. In the playoff picture, they trail the 8th place Brooklyn Nets by a game in the playoff picture. They sit half a game ahead of the 10th place Charlotte Hornets. They trail the Eastern Conference leading Miami Heat by 10.5 games in the conference. With this loss, the Portland Trail Blazers are 26-41. They've now lost 7 of their last 10 games. They are now sitting a game and a half behind the 10th place New Orleans Pelicans outside of the playoff picture. With loss number 41, they are no longer eligible to have a winning record this season. Taking a look at what happened in Philadelphia, the 76ers hosted the Denver Nuggets. The Nuggets would end up crossing the 41-win threshold as they would beat the 76ers by 4. They won it 114-110 after outscoring the Sixers by 11 points in the fourth quarter. They also went on to outscore the Sixers by 10 in the second. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Philadelphia 76ers were led in scoring by their elite starting center, Joel Embiid. Embiid finished with 34 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 blocks, as well as 5 turnovers. He did all this in 36 minutes as he shot 11 for 20 from the field. He shot a perfect 3 for 3 from behind the three-point line, and he shot 9 for 10 from the free throw line. Their elite starting shooting guard, James Harden, former NBA MVP, finished with 24 points, 9 rebounds, and 11 assists. He would do all of this in 39 minutes. He shot 6 for 11 from the field, 1 for 4 from 3, and 11 for 12 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the Denver Nuggets were led in scoring by their elite starting center, Nikola Jokic. The reigning NBA MVP finished with 22 points, 13 rebounds, 8 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks, and 5 turnovers in 34 minutes. He shot 8 for 16 from the field, 1 for 3 from 3, and 5 for 7 from the foul line. Their point guard off the bench, Bones Highland, finished with 21 points in 31 minutes. He shot 7 for 14 from the field, 4 for 9 from 3, and 3 for 5 from the foul line. Their starting small forward, Will Barton, finished with 20 points in 32 minutes. He shot 7 for 14 from the field, 3 for 6 from 3, and 3 for 4 from the foul line. With this win, the Denver Nuggets are 41-28. That is the 6th best record in the Western Conference, win percentage-wise. They've won 7 of their last 10 games. In the Western Conference playoff picture, they are sitting a game and a half behind the Utah Jazz and the Dallas Mavericks, who are tied for the 4th best record in the West. They are also sitting a game and a half ahead of the 7th place Minnesota Timberwolves. With win number 41, the Nuggets have officially clinched not being able to have a losing record for the year, as their next win would, of course, clinch them having a winning record. Overall, they sit 13.5 games behind the Western Conference leading Phoenix Suns. With this loss, the Philadelphia 76ers are 41-26. That is the 3rd best record in the East. They've only lost 3 of their last 10 games. In the playoff picture, they sit a game behind the 2nd place defending champs Milwaukee Bucks. They sit half a game ahead of the 4th place Chicago Bulls. Overall, they trail the Eastern Conference leading Miami Heat by 3 games in the conference. Jumping to Oklahoma, in Oklahoma City, the Thunder hosted the Charlotte Hornets. The Hornets would end up beating the Thunder 134-116 to keep their play-in spot. They would win this game by 18 after they outscored the Thunder by 13 in the second quarter. They would also outscore the Thunder by 17 in the second half. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Oklahoma City Thunder were led in scoring by their starting guard out of Kentucky. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander finished with 32 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 assists in 36 minutes. He would go on to shoot 12 for 20 from the field, 3 for 7 from 3, and a perfect 5 for 5 from the foul line. Their starting power forward, Darius Bazley, finished with 25 points in 35 minutes. He shot 10 for 18 from the field, 4 for 9 from 3, and 1 for 2 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the Hornets were led in scoring by their starting shooting guard, Terry Rozier. He finished with 30 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 steals in 32 minutes. He shot 11 for 17 from the field, 4 for 8 from 3, and a perfect 4 for 4 from the foul line. Their starting small forward, Miles Bridges, finished with 27 points and 6 assists in 30 minutes. He shot 11 for 15 from the field and 5 for 6 from 3. Their elite starting point guard, LaMelo Ball, would finish with 21 points, 4 rebounds, 7 assists, and 2 steals in 30 minutes. He shot 6 for 13 from the field. He would shoot 5 for 8 from 3 and a perfect 4 for 4 from the foul line. On the winning end of this, I guess that was the winning end of this matchup. With this win, the Charlotte Hornets are now 34-35. That is the 10th best record in the Eastern Conference. They've now won their last 2 games, and they've won 5 of their last 10. Holding on to that last play-in spot, they sit half a game behind the 9th place Atlanta Hawks. They sit 4 games ahead of the Washington Wizards, who are the first team on the outside looking in. Overall, the Hornets trail the Eastern Conference leading Miami Heat by 11 games, as at 69 games, they have 13 games left in their season. Taking a look now at how Oklahoma is faring with this loss, they are now 20-48. That is the second worst record in the Western Conference. They have now lost their last 6 games. The Oklahoma City Thunder are holding on to the NBA's longest active losing streak. They've lost 8 of their last 10. At the moment, they are sitting 8 games outside of the Western Conference playoff picture, as at the moment they have 14 games left in their season, so they're still in the playoff hunt. So that's what that's looking like. Moving one state south to San Antonio, the Spurs would host the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Timberwolves beat the Spurs 149-139 in regulation. They would go on to outscore the Spurs by 8 in the first quarter and then by 13 in the third. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown San Antonio Spurs were led in scoring by their starting small forward, Keldon Johnson. Keldon Johnson finished with 34 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 assists in 37 minutes. He shot 13 for 21 from the field, 5 for 9 from 3, and 3 for 4 from the foul line. Their all-star starting point guard, DeJounte Murray, finished with 30 points, 4 rebounds, 12 assists, and 5 turnovers in 36 minutes. He shot 10 for 20 from the field, 1 for 5 from 3, and 9 for 10 from the foul line. Their shooting guard off the bench, Lonnie Walker IV, finished with 22 points in 26 minutes. He shot 8 for 12 from the field, 3 for 5 from 3, and a perfect 3 for 3 from the foul line. And their starting center, Jakob Poeltl, would finish with 21 points as well as 3 blocks in 29 minutes. He shot 9 for 12 from the field and 3 for 4 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the Timberwolves were led in scoring by their elite starting center, Karl Anthony Towns. He would go on to finish with 60 points, 17 rebounds, 3 assists, and 6 turnovers in 36 minutes. He would score 32 points in the third quarter. He would shoot 19 for 31 from the field, 7 for 11 from 3, and 15 for 16 from the foul line. Their starting point guard, Patrick Beverley, would finish with 20 points and 8 assists in 30 minutes. He shot 5 for 8 from the field, 3 for 4 from 3, and 7 for 8 from the foul line. And then their elite starting small forward out of Georgia, Anthony Edwards, finished with 5 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists in 30 minutes. He shot 2 for 7 from the field and 1 for 2 from 3. With this win, the Minnesota Timberwolves are now 40-30. That is the 7th best record in the Western Conference. They've now won their last 2 games, and they've won 8 of their last 10. In the Western Conference playoff picture, they sit a game and a half behind the 6th place Denver Nuggets. They sit 4.5 games ahead of the 8th place Los Angeles Clippers. And right now, they are sitting 15 games behind the Western Conference and NBA leading Phoenix Suns. And taking a quick look now with this loss, the San Antonio Spurs are now 26-43. That is the fourth worst record in the West. They've lost their last 2 games. They've lost 7 of their last 10. At the moment, they still sit 2.5 games behind the 10th place New Orleans Pelicans outside of the play-in picture. Jumping northwest to San Antonio, the Golden State Warriors hosted the Washington Wizards. The Warriors ended up beating the Wizards 126-112. They won this game by 14 after outscoring the Wizards by 13 in the second quarter. On the losing end of this matchup, the Wizards were led in scoring by their center, who was a former All-Star, Kristaps Porzingis. He would finish with 25 points and 8 rebounds in 27 minutes. He would go on to shoot 7 for 13 from the field and a perfect 10 for 10 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Golden State Warriors were led in scoring by their goated starting point guard, the NBA's all-time leader in three-pointers made, Stephen Curry. Curry finished with 47 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists in 35 minutes. He shot 16 for 25 from the field, 7 for 14 from 3, and a perfect 8 for 8 from the foul line. Their elite starting shooting guard, Klay Thompson, finished with 20 points and 4 rebounds in 33 minutes. He shot 7 for 19 from the field, 4 for 12 from 3, and a perfect 2 for 2 from the foul line. Their starting shooting guard, Jordan Poole, finished with 20 points and 2 steals in 32 minutes. He shot 7 for 13 from the field, and he shot 5 for 7 from the foul line. With this win, the Golden State Warriors are now 47-22. That they are tied with the Memphis Grizzlies now with the second best record in the West. They've now won their last 4 games and they've won 5 of their last 10. Tied with the Grizzlies, they both sit the Warriors sit 7.5 games behind the Phoenix Suns, who are the only team to have clinched a playoff spot, and they sit 4.5 games ahead of the Utah Jazz and the Dallas Mavericks, who are tied for the 4th best record in the West. With this loss, the Washington Wizards are 29-38. That is the 5th worst record in the East. They've now lost their last 4 games. Their 4-game losing streak is the longest active losing streak in the Eastern Conference. They've lost 7 of their last 10 games, and they are currently sitting 4 games behind the 10th place Charlotte Hornets outside of the Eastern Conference play-in picture. Jumping up to Sacramento, not that far away, the Sacramento Kings would host the Chicago Bulls. The Kings would get the better of the Bulls. They would win this matchup 112-103 in front of their hometown fans. They won by 9 after they outscored the Bulls by 10 points in the first and second quarters each. On the losing end of this matchup, the Bulls were led in scoring by their all-star starting shooting guard, Zach LaVine. He would go on to finish with 27 points and 6 assists, as well as 3 rebounds in 36 minutes. He shot 8 for 18 from the field, 2 for 7 from 3, and a perfect 9 for 9 from the foul line. Their starting center, Nikola Vucevic, finished with 23 points and 10 rebounds in 33 minutes. He shot 10 for 22 from the field, and he would go on to shoot 3 for 7 from 3. Their all-star starting small forward, DeMar DeRozan, finished with 21 points, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists in 40 minutes. He shot 7 for 17 from the field, and he shot a perfect 7 for 7 from the foul line. With this win, on the winning end of this matchup, the Sacramento Kings were led in scoring by their starting point guard, De'Aaron Fox. He finished with 34 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists in 42 minutes. He shot 13 for 25 from the field, 3 for 8 from 3, and 5 for 6 from the foul line. Their starting power forward, Domantas Sabonis, finished with 22 points, 7 rebounds as well in 38 minutes. He would shoot 6 for 15 from the field and a perfect 10 for 10 from the foul line. With this win, the Sacramento Kings are 25-45. That is the 3rd worst record in the Western Conference. They've won 3 of their last 10 games. They are sitting 4 games behind the 10th place New Orleans Pelicans in the Western Conference. And with this loss, the Chicago Bulls are now 41-27. That is the 4th best record in the East. They've lost 6 of their last 10 games. In the Eastern Conference playoff picture, they're sitting half a game behind the 3rd place Philadelphia 76ers, and they also sit half a game ahead of the 5th place Boston Celtics to get a sense of how close that part of the bracket is. They are currently trailing the Miami Heat by 3.5 games in the East. Jumping out to Salt Lake City, the Utah Jazz would host the defending NBA champs, the Milwaukee Bucks. The Bucks would end up beating the Jazz 117-111. They won this matchup by 6 after they outscored the Jazz by 10 points in the final quarter. Not to mention they outscored the Jazz by 11 points in the second quarter as well, but they had to overcome their 4-point deficit going into the fourth quarter to win this game. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Utah Jazz were led in scoring by their elite starting shooting guard Donovan Mitchell and their former all-star point guard Mike Conley. Mitchell finished with 29 points, 6 rebounds, and 8 assists in 40 minutes. He shot 10 for 32 from the field, 5 for 17 from 3, and a perfect 4 for 4 from the foul line. Conley finished with 29 points, 7 assists, and 2 steals in 32 minutes. He shot 10 for 13 from the field, 6 for 9 from 3, and 3 for 4 from the foul line. Their elite starting center out of France, Rudy Gobert, finished with 18 points and 14 rebounds in 32 minutes. He shot 6 for 8 from the field, and he would go on to shoot 6 for 8 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the Milwaukee Bucks were led in scoring by their elite starting power forward, the reigning NBA MVP, Giannis Antetokounmpo. He would go on to finish with 30 points, 15 rebounds, and 4 assists, as he would go on to finish with 5 fouls in 34 minutes. He shot 12 for 24 from the field, and he would shoot 6 for 7 from the foul line. Their starting point guard, Jrue Holiday, finished with 29 points, 7 assists, and 5 steals in 37 minutes. He shot 10 for 21 from the field, and he would shoot 7 for 8 from the foul line. Their all-star starting small forward, Chris Middleton, would finish with 23 points, 3 rebounds, and 4 assists in 35 minutes. He shot 7 for 16 from the field, 2 for 5 from 3, and 7 for 8 from the foul line. With this win, the defending champs Milwaukee Bucks are now 43-26. That is the second best record in the Eastern Conference. They've won 7 of their last 10. In the Eastern Conference playoff picture, they are sitting 2 games behind the Eastern Conference leading Miami Heat. They sit a game ahead of the third-place Philadelphia 76ers at the moment. With this loss, the Utah Jazz are now 42-26. That is they are now tied with the Dallas Mavericks for the 4th best record in the West. They've now lost 4 of their last 10 games. Alongside the Mavericks, they sit 4.5 games behind the Memphis Grizzlies and the Golden State Warriors, who are tied for the 2nd best record in the West. The Jazz also sit a game and a half ahead of the 6th place Denver Nuggets. Overall, they trail the Western Conference and NBA leading in Phoenix Suns by 12 games in the conference at the moment. Last but not least, jumping to Crypto.com Arena, the LA Lakers hosted the Toronto Raptors. The Raptors would end up beating the Lakers 114-103. They would win this matchup by 11 after they outscored the Lakers by 21 in the first quarter. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown LA Lakers were led in scoring by their goated starting small forward, LeBron James. LeBron James would go on to finish with 30 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 blocks, and 5 turnovers in 40 minutes. He shot 11 for 19 from the field, 4 for 7 from 3, and 4 for 7 from the foul line. Their shooting guard off the bench, Talen Horton-Tucker, finished with 20 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 steals in 27 minutes. He shot 8 for 13 from the field, 3 for 5 from 3, and 1 for 2 from the foul line. Their goated starting point guard out of UCLA, Russell Westbrook, would finish with 14 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 assists in 35 minutes. Westbrook would go on to finish shooting 4 for 10 from the field and 6 for 7 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the Toronto Raptors were led in scoring by their starting shooting guard out of Duke, Gary Trent Jr. He finished with 28 points and 5 rebounds in 36 minutes. He shot 7 for 19 from the field and 11 for 13 from the foul line. Their starting power forward, Pascal Siakam, finished with 27 points, 11 rebounds, and 5 assists in 35 minutes. He shot 9 for 17 from the field, 2 for 3 from 3, and their starting small forward, Scotty Barnes, would go on to finish with 21 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 blocks in 40 minutes. He went on to shoot 9 for 17 from the field, 1 for 2 from 3, and 2 for 3 from the foul line. Their starting power forward, Precious Achiuwa, would finish with 10 points, 11 rebounds, 2 steals, and 2 blocks in 33 minutes. He shot 5 for 13 from the field. With this win, the Toronto Raptors are 38-30. That is the 7th best record in the Eastern Conference. Their 4-game winning streak is the longest active winning streak in the Eastern Conference, and at the moment, it is the longest active winning streak in the NBA. The Raptors have won 6 of their last 10 games. In the Eastern Conference playoff picture, they sit a game behind the 6th place Cleveland Cavaliers. They are sitting 3 games ahead of the 8th place Brooklyn Nets. They are trailing the Eastern Conference leading Miami Heat by 6.5 games. With this loss, the Los Angeles Lakers are 29-39. That is the 9th best record in the West. They've now lost their last 2 games, and they've lost 8 of their last 10. Holding on to a play-in spot, they are sitting 5.5 games behind the 8th place Los Angeles Clippers, who share an arena with them. And the Lakers also sit a game ahead of the 10th place New Orleans Pelicans, who are just holding on to that last play-in spot. Overall, the Lakers are trailing the Western Conference leading Phoenix Suns by 25 games. That is what the NBA is looking like following yesterday's St. Patrick's Day games. Taking a look at what the NBA is looking like today as we go through what's going on Tuesday. Because it's Tuesday, the only primetime game will be on NBA TV. As the New Orleans Pelicans, who hold the 10th best record in the West, are going to host the NBA leading Phoenix Suns, who've only lost 6 games on the road. Looking at the team at home, the New Orleans Pelicans enter this matchup having won 5 of their last 10 games. They only sit a game and a half ahead of the Portland Trailblazers, who are outside of the picture, and they only sit 1 game behind the 9th place Lakers in the West. The Suns enter this matchup sitting 7.5 games ahead of the second best team, Memphis Grizzlies, as the Suns are the only team in the NBA that has clinched a playoff spot. They have 14 games left in their season as they sit 7.5 games ahead of the second place team. Looking at the games that aren't on prime time, at 7 o'clock, the Indiana Pacers are going to host the Memphis Grizzlies in Gainbridge Fieldhouse. At 7 o'clock, the Orlando Magic, who hold the worst record in the East, are going to host the Brooklyn Nets. And then at 7:30, the Eastern Conference leading Miami Heat are going to host the Detroit Pistons, who are the second team in the NBA who have been eliminated from playoff contention. So that's what the NBA is looking like. Taking a look at what happened with soccer yesterday. Looking first at the Premier League, the top team in the Premier League, Manchester City, would end up drawing with Crystal Palace 0-0. With this draw, they only sit 4 points ahead of second place Liverpool, as Man City has played 1 more game than Liverpool, putting the pressure on Liverpool to win their next game if they want to close this gap. Looking at the best team in Spain, Real Madrid would end up beating Mallorca 3-0, as all 3 of their goals came in the second half. Their first goal will come from their elite Brazilian forward, Vinicius Jr., and then they would get a brace between the 77th and 82nd minutes from their elite French striker, Karim Benzema. With this win, Real Madrid is now, at the moment, sitting on top of La Liga, as Karim Benzema and Vinny Jr. are sitting on top of the scorers list right now. Real Madrid sits 10 points ahead of second place Sevilla with the same amount of games played. So Real Madrid virtually, they just got to win from here on out, but this is a very big win for them. Looking on at Serie A, Lazio is able to host and beat Venezia thanks to a 58th minute penalty kick from their elite Italian striker, Ciro Immobile. With this win, Lazio is temporarily holding the 5th best record in Italy, as they sit 7 points behind 4th place Juventus, and they jumped right ahead of Atalanta, as they've played 1 more game than Atalanta and sit only 1 point ahead of Atalanta. But that's where Lazio is right now. That was a very big win for them. Taking a look at what's going on today. Today will be the 3rd day of the second leg of Champions League knockout for the round of 16. Those will be the big matchups today. They'll both take place at 4 o'clock. Starting first in Amsterdam, Ajax Amsterdam is going to host Benfica. Ajax enters this round after Ajax would win every single game in Group C, and then Benfica entered this matchup after finishing second in the group to Bayern. This matchup is currently tied 2-2 on aggregates, and of course, just to get a little bit of a reminder what happened last game, the first goal of the last game was scored by Dusan Tadic after Sebastian Haller would score an own goal and tie it up at 1. About 8 minutes later, Haller would score, putting Ajax up 2-1, and then Roman Yaremchuk would score Benfica's second goal to even it up. This matchup is tied 2-2 on aggregates, as of course the winner of this matchup will advance to the quarterfinal round of Champions League, and the matches will be decided by draw. The other matchup will be between Manchester United and Atletico Madrid. Manchester United will host after they ended up winning their group, finishing over second place Villarreal, and they would end up facing off against Atletico Madrid. Madrid would finish second in their group behind Liverpool. And looking at how the last match between these two teams went, this matchup ended up going 1-1, as the first goal of this matchup was by Joao Felix from Atletico Madrid in the 7th minute. Man United's lone goal came from Anthony Ilanga in the 80th minute. So right now they're virtually playing. It's basically 0-0 right now. Whoever wins this game will be the team that advances to the quarterfinal. Right now there are 12 teams left in Champions League. By the end of today, there will be 10, and by the end of tomorrow, there will be 8. So with that said, that's everything that I have for you today. And once all of today's exhibitions and matchups are done, I'm going to come back tomorrow on Wednesday, March 16th. So until then, thanks for listening to this piece. I really do hope all is well. And by the time we get to tomorrow, we'll have 2 less college basketball teams competing for a title. And then we'll have 2 less Champions League teams competing for that title as well. Thanks once again for listening to my piece. I want to thank the ESPN, the NCAA, the NBA, and the FIFA websites for giving me all the facts and the numbers that I need. And with that said, thanks for listening to this piece. I'll catch you with another episode tomorrow. I even have a profile right after this, so of course, stay tuned. Thanks for listening. I hope all is well. I'm James Sims. This is The Elite. Thanks for listening to my piece, and peace out.